Hey folks, Andy here. It's particularly cold today, hence the reason why I'm wearing half a bear. But I've decided to carry on with this absolute nonsense. So this is the Richard Lehman list, and almost finished now. So it will be finished within the next week or so. So there are small mercies ahead. And we're at book number 6 now on my list, which is obviously a very good place to be. And at books number 6, or rather for book number 6, I've decided to list his 1993 story, Dark Mountain. Now, Dark Mountain was actually originally published way back in 1987 and written a number of years before that, I think, when he released it under his pseudonym of Richard Kelly. He released 2 books under that name. There was this and there was Midnight's Lair, both in tribute to his daughter, whose name is Kelly Lehman. And a lot of people have questioned why, because there doesn't seem to be any real significance as to why he wrote these 2 books and dedicated them to his daughter. I can only assume that the actual locations of both these books had some sort of special significance. Midnight's Lair being about a cave, and I presume that there's a story about Lehman actually visiting the cave and getting really inspired by it. And I presume it's something that his daughter really enjoyed where she was. And the same with this. This is about camping in the woods and the stuff that goes wrong. And I'm just guessing that Kelly had some great experience camping with her dad and her mum, or maybe just her dad. I don't know. And Richard decided to dedicate this book to her because of good memories associated with the woods as well. That's what makes sense to me. I'm probably completely off the mark, but that's just where I get that idea from. But yeah, this was written in the mid '80s, released in the mid '80s, and then re-released under the Lehman name in the mid '90s. And irrespective, it originally went by the title of Tread Softly. By the way, that was the original title of this. So if you've got Tread Softly in your collection, that is Dark Mountain. And if you see it online, again, it's the same book. In the same way that the Glory Bus and Into the Fire were the same, and Amara and To Wake the Dead are the same. Just different names, sometimes in different territories, just different names different authors give books. Excuse me, I've got a really bad eye and I'm not going to reset this video now. So, anyway, Dark Mountain. It's, like I said, it's a book about horror in the woods, and it's unusual for Lehman. It's set into 3 different acts, and it actually has quite a large, by Lehman standards, group of characters introduced quite quickly. So you've got these 2 families, with their kids and respective parents and significant others, that both go camping in the same area. They meet up because they're friends of each other, and they basically all meet up for this camping experience. And the opening of this is just these families bickering, getting together, painting the scene of the journey to the woods that they're going to. And it actually paints quite an interesting picture of camping life. Anyone who's gone camping knows it can be a bit of a cat experience getting there, but part of the fun of the journey is just the journey going there. And then these people do what campers do. They go rambling, they go climbing up hills, through streams. Again, Lehman, who doesn't usually paint a big picture of scenery and world building, does really, really well here to paint a beautiful picture of a forest. It's minimalist, but enough to make you actually feel like you're there. It's really, really cinematic. And anyway, they come across these characters that are living there. There's this old crone who's seemingly quite harmless. She worships evil dark gods, and she just wants to be left alone. And she's got a son who is extremely strong, and he's got insatiable carnal lusts, and he gets into trouble with things that he does. And basically, because of his activities, they're both in danger of being discovered living out there by people, which she doesn't want. So she tries to rein her her son in and control him, but obviously things go wrong, and he can't resist the newcomers. So stuff happens that's very Lehman-esque. But actually, what actually happens, I don't think's as graphic or as vile as in some of his books. I actually think it feels very reminiscent of a lot of Horror in the Woods stories anyway. But the actual character interaction, the behaviour of some of the characters, the tenderness between some characters is unusual for Layman. There's one bit in it where one character is assaulted by this character, and she then immediately wants to have sex with her boyfriend, which I know a lot of people have said, in terms of realism, wouldn't have happened. And it's another excuse for Layman to write sex, I suppose. But at the same time, I just thought it was a fairly sort of tender moment in terms of the language they use and how they talk about it. Some of the relationship between the boyfriend and the girl and the boy who become obviously lovers, the son of one family and the daughter of the other. Excuse me. I actually think that their behaviour, their blossoming romance and the building of their relationship is actually really quite sweet and tender as well, and quite natural. The only character in here that I thought was written as a usual Layman perv, there's a younger boy who has a major crush on his hopefully soon to be stepmom. So he sees it, and yeah, he's a bit lechy, and there's a bit in which he finds himself aroused when he's sleeping in a tent next to her, and she's aware of it and just thinks it's funny. He's I think it's about 14. I think any female in that situation would find that anything but funny. They'd find it a bit creepy. So yeah, that's a weird bit. It's just Layman getting that in there. But the book's largely free of a lot of the sort of weirdness, that a lot of the perverse things that Layman put in. It's full of world building, generally good characters. And what I really like is basically, not until they encounter this character, I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens in case you haven't read it. But basically, after this assault by this brutish character, something happens, and this family get out of the woods. It doesn't just spend the entirety of its duration in the woods. They get out of the woods and go back to, city life. And it's there that a lot of the most interesting things happen, because something is going on and they have to deal with a supernatural force, and they ultimately find themselves being picked off one by one until they come to the realisation they need to go back to the woods to deal with the cause of this. And that back to the woods, this bit within the city's got quite a lot of creepy imagery and some really good tense scenes, and a lot of the deaths are handled very well. It's very effective, quite stark. And then they go back to the woods, the remaining survivors, to deal with this force and tackle it head on. In a climax and a showdown, I actually think is one of Layman's better conclusions. It's actually a decent end to a book. It's a decent final climax and showdown. And yeah, I actually really like this. Obviously, it's a number 6 on my list for a reason. I think it's just a really great horror book. Very well told, predominantly great characters, decent threat, decent imagery, reads really fast. It's got a lot going on, and just feels like a very well constructed book. So if you're in the mood for a decent Horror in the Woods book, at least 60 or 70% of this is set in the woods. But even the stuff that isn't is really good. It's Layman being a bit adventurous for him and creating scenarios and set pieces that feel very cinematic but are less rushed than some of the usual stuff. So Dark Mountain or Tread Softly, whichever territory you get it from, my number 6 choice for Richard Layman, and a book that I think is really, really good, and any horror fan should read it.